The mass protests have brought the country to a standstill and show no signs of abating. Let's turn now to Beirut, where France 24's Molana-Allen is standing by for us. Leila, what can we expect from the protest movement today? I assume that there will be more people out on the streets later on.
They will indeed be continuing. It's now been over a week. And really, yesterday was perhaps the last stage in this where the government might have been able to pull it back with President Michel Aoun speaking. It had been a week that people were waiting for him. He'd been completely silent, and finally he did come out. But people found his speech very disappointing. They said it was much like Prime Minister Hariri's speech on Monday, that really these were just platitudes, and even if the things he had promised were good promises, they wouldn't believe him anyway, because he's been the president here for 3 years and nothing has been done. So they all said, why would we believe him? Lots of apathetic reactions, some very angry reactions, actually, with people saying they feel really betrayed by him. So that did not work as the president hoped that it would, that speech yesterday. And yesterday night, we did start to see some clashes. So this has been a largely very peaceful protest movement with everyone uniting under the one Lebanese flag. But things are starting to degrade just a little bit. Yesterday evening, we had some Hezbollah supporters who came into downtown Beirut and stood off against the majority of the protesters. The army did manage to separate them. We've had similar clashes across the country. But really what was important for the protesters was to make it through to the weekend, because a general strike had been called for the week, but it hadn't been observed everywhere. So during the day, we were seeing smaller numbers and then lots in the evening. Against the odds they have, against the fact that the army has been trying to push them back from blocking the roads, and the fact that we've had torrential rainstorms for the last 2 days, still the protesters have held their ground. And now that we've come into the weekend, it's Friday now, this is likely to carry on into next week.
And now, of course, promises of reforms and calls for dialogue haven't managed to appease public anger. So really, what next for the government now?
Well, the problem the government really has now is the people are not really interested in listening to them anymore. They've done what they can with their speeches this week. We had a few resignations from the cabinet at the end of last week. That didn't really work either. All the people want now is for them just to go. The chant across the country is all of them means all of them. And this is sort of unprecedented in Lebanon because of this sectarian system that they have, where everybody supports their own sectarian leaders. Everybody, as I said, is united under the Lebanese flag at the moment, not their own sectarian flags, and against their own leaders as well as everybody else's leaders. So really, the government doesn't have that many options right now, unless they either crack down on the protesters or they agree to resign. If that does happen and the protesters win and they agree to resign, there are two problems then. Firstly, as I said, there's national unity. It's all very well to be united together when you have a common enemy. Once that common enemy is gone, then where do you go? Because this is a very divided country, and civil society is trying to put forward some new leaders, but already the arguments have started over who deserves to lead this movement, who has the experience. And that's the second issue, is that because this country is so nepotistic in the way that its leaders are chosen, they all come from these political dynasties. That's part of what the people are protesting against, saying it's a corrupt political system. If you are not from those dynasties, you don't have any political experience, you don't have any money to run, you don't have the wasta, the connections to be able to lead the country, really. So who are going to be those people? So because of this incredibly knotted, tangled sectarian system, it's very unclear whether the protest movement will actually be able to define some clear leaders for the future and develop a new government, or whether this will just descend.
OK, Leila, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for that. Leila Molana-Allen there reporting to us from Beirut.